The moonscape was very, very close. And he says it was such a shock, he nearly soiled his pants right then and there. And this is when his conversation with the ETs really began in earnest. And Kevin was still too nervous to turn around and see what these guys looked like. But he did have the presence of mind to start asking questions. And the first question he asked was, "Where are you from?" And the ETs didn't answer directly with a phrase. Instead, they demonstrated. Suddenly, this room, which had been quite small, originally maybe 20 feet wide, he couldn't quite tell, but it immediately expanded to a very large size, 50, 100 feet wide, 200 feet, maybe more. And the room transformed, and suddenly he found himself in the middle of this three-dimensional star chart. You could see Earth, you could see the sun, you could see the other planets, and stars stretching way off, way, way off into the distance. And at the very far end of the room, where the stars were just tiny little dots, he saw this red light blinking on and off. And one of the ETs said, "That's where we are from." And then they proceeded to tell him the name of their planet and the name of their species, which Kevin is not quite able to remember. All he really recalls is that these were very long words with lots of consonants, and was a foreign language, and he just couldn't make sense of it, and he couldn't remember what these words were. But they told him that the ETs proceeded to start giving him all kinds of information. They told him that they speak all the languages of our planet fluently. And Kevin says, "Well, why are you here?" And one of the ETs replied, "We have been here a long time. Our objective is only to observe. We are not here to interfere with your religious beliefs or your political beliefs. We are only here to observe." Kevin asks, "Well, what do you eat? Or do you eat?" And the ETs said, "Yes, we eat." And Kevin, still nervous that this was perhaps a negative experience, said, "Are you going to eat me?" And the ET said, "No, you watch too many horror movies. We are not going to eat you. We are here only to observe." And they proceeded to give him a bunch of information. They told him that when humans began testing atomic weapons, it caused them to pay much closer attention to humans, and that it also drew the interest of many other ET species. As Kevin says, "They told me when we exploded the atomic bomb, that started a countdown clock." They didn't tell him exactly what that meant in words. Instead, they showed him these images. These were three-dimensional images. It was as if he was looking out a window at the Earth, and they showed him a series of natural disasters, future natural disasters, that would occur all over our planet. And again, this was all in vivid three-dimensional. It looked totally lifelike, as if he was actually there. And as Kevin says, they showed me mudslides and volcanic eruptions, hurricanes and floods and more hurricanes. These were natural disasters that were going to happen. They told him, quote, "These are things that are going to come." They told him there was no way we could stop these events, that because of our messing around with atomic weapons, that all these events would in fact occur. So Kevin started to ask all kinds of questions. The Roswell UFO crash came to his mind, and he asked if that was real. And as Kevin says, "They told me the Roswell crash was true. They told me that they themselves did not have a government. They told me that they do interact with our government, and that there were 4 other species that they knew of that also interact with our government. And not only do they interact with our government, they interact with most of the other major governments on the face of the earth, and they have been doing so for years and years. They said, yes, we interact with your government all the time, and we are trading technology with them. They also said that they can cloak themselves, and that if there is a group of people standing around, they can make themselves visible to half the group and not to half the group. They can show themselves to whoever they want or cloak themselves from whoever they want. At one point, Kevin asked them flat out, "Is there a God?" And he says that question seemed to disturb them and shake them up a little bit. And they replied, and I quote, "We cannot answer that question. We have a higher authority to answer to, and we are not allowed to discuss it." They told him again that they could not discuss religion or politics with him. And